So.
Okay, I got you there. All right, we'll begin the program this morning by taking a check on the national dailies, what they've got for us this Monday morning. But of course, also remember that the NLC threatened to protest. We'll see how that one will also go. Have you got cash in your hand now? Do you? Is there a little bit of change in the situation in terms of the availability of cash? We're hoping that this week will be different, but of course, let's begin from the Guardian newspaper, from that particular story on the Naira scarcity. And the Guardian is leading with this one. NLC reconsiders strike as CBN opens vault to banks. NEC meets tomorrow to review plans, strategies. We may call off strike if Nigerians have access to their monies, says Ajaero. That's the NLC president. You also see this right there in the front page of the Guardian for today. Strike will drag economy into deeper hole, says NECA. Cash scarcity eases as queues disappear gradually from Lagos, Abuja ATMs. Restrict over-the-counter withdrawal to 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira. Those are the riders to that bold headline in the front page of The Guardian, which says NLC reconsiders strike as CBN opens vault to banks. You check that story from The Guardian newspaper. But of course, I can confirm to you that as early as 7 this morning, we already have queues forming at different commercial banks here in Akure. Perhaps that will not take long before we start having access to cash without going through all the stress that accompanying this Naira redesign policy. What do you think?
Yes, and actually yesterday, Sunday, fulfilling their promise of saying that commercial banks are going to be opened to customers during the weekend. Yesterday, people were there in the banks, to get some money. Well, the queue was long, but I want to believe that some people actually got something, at least for the wait. And the time was that you waited and you got nothing, but at least you're waiting and getting something now. It's a little bit of respite for the people.
Of course, respite, but the fact that respite is also coming after NLC's threats of embarking on strike is leaving not much to desire. Just like you said, an headline has captured that CBN has opened its vault. So you ask the question, why didn't they open that vault to banks? Why did they let Nigerians suffer?
I bet that question will remain rhetoric.
Of course. Let's check on headlines in the front page of The Guardian this morning. Greedy cabal delaying refineries takeoff. That's on page 4 of The Guardian. Greedy cabal delaying refineries takeoff. Other headline, UNN confers doctorate on this Nigerian who is also CEO, Onyago. You also find this one. Edo gets tentative approval for airport in Auchi. That's on page 8. CBN's new lending rate to raise construction material cost. I tell you, most of those businessmen also look to the banks to run their businesses now that the lending rate of the CBN appears also perhaps increasing. It could also have a ripple effect on construction material costs. But you want to know why exactly that is likely to happen? You check the page 19 of the Guardian newspaper for this morning. Why Africa needs knowledge transfer more than grants by Ayo Aboyeje Rahim. You check that. Knowledge transfer, not grants. So knowledge you can't buy with money. Once you have it, you have it. Dear, the life and times of Army General who cheated death. Quite sad that death eventually caught up with him. That's former chief of staff. They say it's also like the second in command to General Bacha. We heard the news that he died yesterday, Sunday. Of course, condolences been coming out from the president-elect, and other eminent Nigerians. You check The Guardian for the life and time of that man in the newspaper for this morning. That's it from The Guardian newspaper.
All right, straight to the leadership newspaper for this morning. Says 10th National Assembly suspends as APC National Working Committee plans National Executive Council for mid-April. Well, details of that story you find on page 7 of the leadership for this morning. And we also have this: as INEC drags foot, Fitiri Benani trade talks over alleged rigging, intimidation in Adamawa polls. And writers to that story says APC flag bearers want 16 LGA's governorship results reviewed, fresh election in Fufure local government, says I'm hopeful of victory. You are desperate to win, says Fintiri. Then we also have this one: we'll take appropriate decision on polls soon, says INEC. Well, everyone is waiting actually for INEC to take the appropriate decision soon on that particular election. You know, that state, many people are interested in what comes out of it. And this one, again, Gombe ranks best in ease of doing business. Well, what's that ranking, and who is ranking Gombe as best? What does it portend for them? Please check page 17 of the leadership newspaper. Drama as Benue Ward suspends IU as PDP national chairman. Well, is it medicine after death or what? Check details of that story, why it's coming now, on page 4 of the leadership newspaper as well. Then last week, I believe we read to you concerning the takeover of the Nigeria airline. Headwinds from trapped funds, litigation may hinder Nigeria Air's takeoff. Details of that story you find on the front page of the leadership for this morning. And this one, Uwayau never called Yoruba rascals. That's coming from Ohanize. I think that's the fallout of some of the statements made at the 1-year anniversary of Governor Chukwuma Soludo. So you'll find details of that on page 12 of the leadership newspaper. IMF warns of increased risk to global financial stability. You find that on page 29 of the leadership newspaper. And also is the story of the demise of the former secretary to the Abacha's regime. That's PMB, Tinubu, Olariwaju, others mourn Dia. You want to know who Dia was? And check page 7 of the leadership newspaper as well.
All right, away from the leadership newspaper, let's check the Punch, because the Punch is out this morning as well. The bold one coming from the front page of the Punch: INEC votes 3 billion naira to fight electoral cases. Writers to that: APC, PDP, LP differ on Commission's litigation budget. You see this one also: litigation costly. Budget may not be enough. That's according to senior lawyers. And that brings to mind, where the conversation around those who eventually perhaps also get to benefit when it's election season. And one group that, the conversation usually goes back to is the lawyers. Because
The lawyers,
you always have litigations here and there, pre-election, post-election. They say it's a season for lawyers. Now that senior lawyers are even saying 3 billion naira that INEC is budgeting to fight electoral cases might not just be enough, or may not be enough. And that leaves you to how INEC may have to, sort the cash. But that's also That's the bold one coming from the Punch newspaper. PDP vows to probe as Benue Ward suspends IU. PDP vows probe as Benue Ward suspends IU. UK to sanction 10 Nigerians. Envoy chides Fani Kayode. You also see this one. Political rascals. Afenifere knocks Inwaya with demands Ohanese's clarification. And I think you gave that clarification from the leadership already. Other headlines. Lasma arrest fake official making 35,000 naira daily. That's above the minimum wage.
Just multiply that by 30.
Ramadan, ex-governor donates 240 trucks, foodstuffs, group to feed 2,000 daily. You're part of, the gesture you see at this particular period to maximize the benefits. Buhari, Obasanjo, Jonathan, others mourn as Dia dies at 78. You see, some Nigerians already paying their condolence at the residence of the late Army General. Airfares soar as foreign airlines hike exchange rate. You check that story also from the Punch newspaper for today.
All right, and to the nation for this morning. Post-poll crisis. Are you under pressure to quit as PDP chair? What ESCO suspends party boss? Why it must go now by his deputy? Well, check details of our story on the Nation newspaper for this morning. And also, we have foreign reserves deep by 1.43 billion in 10 weeks. If you are interested in that, please check the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. Then we have this, how unbundling of railways, power boosts economy by experts. I'll find details of this on pages 2 and 3 of the Nation newspaper as well. And then finally on the Nation newspaper this morning, APC clears Ozodima, Silva, Leon, Adeyemi for primaries. That's on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. And why I dropped my ambition by Faleke. Well, the stories on the Nation newspaper.
That's the politicking already taking place in Kogi and Bayelsa states. Well, let's check the Daily Trust for you this morning. How NIS operatives extort travelers at airports. I paid $100 to get my Virgin passport cleared. That's according to a passenger. 8 officers sacked. 88 facing disciplinary measures. You also see that? Fan decries extortion. These are the writers to that particular headline. You also see this one. Oladipo Dia, the general who escaped execution, finally bows out. So you want to know why?
The thing is that name Dia, during the Abacha administration was a popular one. I'm sure that the younger folks will be wondering, well, what's about this man? Well, he was.
Not even if they are hearing the news or they are listening to the news. But of course, if you want to know a little bit of history, that's also an opportunity for you to check who that man was, what roles he played in Nigeria's history. Anambra indigenous denying us accommodation. Magban raises alarm. Kogi, Bayelsa, Imo governorship polls. APC rakes in over 1.3 billion naira from forms. That's just in 3 states. Well, you also see this one. Police ban protest in Nasarawa. Arrest 79 in Sokoto. 5 most attractive property destination in Kano. Aftermath of polls. Plot to sack IU thickens. You check that story and more from the Daily Trust for today.
All right, in the New Telegraph for this morning, 2023 polls. British envoy faults Fani Kayode's inciting remarks. Says 10 persons on visa ban watch list. Atiku hails UK, says DSS must arrest former minister. We remember that before the election, the UK has promised that whoever, perpetrates or inciting statements or false news, posts that are capable of disrupting things during the election or causing violence, yes, that these ones will be banned. So, what is 10 people who have been listed? Check the details, please, on page 2 of the New Telegraph. Then, post-election crisis. PDP National Chair. Are you suspended by word? I guess almost all the newspapers this morning are having that as one of their headlines. Please check details of the story on the New Telegraph as well. FG saves 8.5 billion naira from congestion surcharge are paid for foreign liners. Check details of the story too on pages 3 and 8 of the New Telegraph. Right, just to that story says, Wi-Fi banned passengers from flying through Abuja. Then also, Naira redesign. Currency outside banks drops by 1.8 trillion naira. That's a good one then. Banking crisis. IMF warns of increased risks to financial stability.
Of course, those are some of the headlines for you. Where you get a copy of the papers and more, you will definitely find those stories. But let's take a look at sports. Yes, as Nigeria also prepares for that second leg of counter against Guinea-Bissau. The Sporting Sun is leading with this one. 2023 AFCON. Super Eagles out for revenge against Wild Dogs. Prime to redeem self in return leg match. Akpoguma out in tie. But you see a picture of Victor Osimhen and of course this headline. NFF yet to open contract extension talks with Pesero. You think the NFF should open that contract talk with the current coach of the Super Eagles? I'll let you answer that, but there's also the story of the forgotten man. Galatasaray plans 3-year deal for Victor Moses. You check that story and more from the Sporting Sun for today. And of course, qualifiers are happening here and there across Europe also. So we'll take a break. Now, when we come back, we'll hit the discussion segment straight. Please stay.